All right, sixth graders, I'm going to go through the answers to the physical and chemical changes and properties card sort. I noticed a lot of misconceptions on here, so I just want to clear up a couple of things with you. So the first one was the definitions. So a physical change and a chemical change, what those are is when something actually changes its form or changes into something else, whereas physical and chemical properties are just ways that we can describe things. Okay, so the difference between a physical change and a chemical change is that a physical change is the type of change in which the form of matter is altered, but one substance is not transformed into another. So the identity of the substance stays the same. Okay, if we look at the molecular level at the molecules underneath the microscope, they would look exactly the same. They just might be moving faster or slower or something like that. Okay, but they're going to be the exact same. When we have a physical change, oftentimes a physical change can be reversed. So we can kind of undo it. Not always, but a lot of the times we can. A chemical change, on the other hand, is the type of change that results in the formation of new chemical substances. So what happens with that is the molecules actually rearrange and turn into something different. So it would look different underneath the microscope. And chemical changes cannot be reversed by physical ways. We could make it undergo another chemical change oftentimes, but we can't just undo it. So examples of those, so the physical change, those are all these first ones. So crushing an aluminum can. Okay, when we crush an aluminum can, it's still an aluminum can. It's just a different shape. Melting an ice cube. I got a lot of the changes in state of matter. So when we either freeze something, we melt something, we boil something, evaporate something, all that's happening is those are changing from a solid to a liquid to a gas. Okay, and all that's different is that the molecules are either moving faster or more slowly. They're actually not changing into anything different. So changes in state, okay, melting, freezing, boiling, etc., those are physical changes and we can typically undo them. They're reversible. So if I melt an ice cube, I can then put that melted ice back in the freezer and I can freeze it back into ice. Okay, so melting an ice cube, boiling water is when the liquid water turns into a gas. Breaking the glass, okay, it's still glass, it still has a chemical structure, it just looks different. And chopping wood, okay, I'm just changing the size of the wood. For physical or chemical changes, those often can't be undone. Okay, so burning something, when I burn something, I can't unburn something. Okay, I can't even begin to try that. Okay, baking a cake. I can't bake a cake and then decide I want to take my eggs back out of it. Okay, you can't undo it. Digesting food, when you digest food, there's a chemical change that occurs in your body and it changes it into the form so that your body can use those nutrients to sustain itself. Rust is a chemical change. We can't undo rust. And if we mix baking soda and vinegar, some of you maybe have done that and it kind of explodes up. That's a chemical change. Okay, we can't undo that. Then we go into the properties. And properties, I think a lot of people were confused in the difference between a change and a property. A change is when it's actually changing form or changing into something else, where a property is just a way to describe it. Okay, and physical properties are characteristics that we can observe or measure without changing the composition of the substance. So we can look at it and determine it without changing what it is. So some examples of those were brittleness. Brittleness is if it breaks easily. Okay, so we can break a piece of wood and it's still a piece of wood. Boiling point, we can find out the boiling point. Luster is the shininess. Density. And malleability. Malleability is if it can be pulled into a wire. It's a property that a lot of metals have. And so those are all physical properties. And then chemical properties are characteristics that can only be determined by changing the identity of the substance or attempting to change the identity. So we can only determine if something has physical properties by testing it and seeing if it actually has those properties. Okay, and a lot of times in testing it, we actually change the identity of the substance and we cause a chemical change to occur. So flammability is one. If I want to know if something's flammable, I have to try to light it on fire and see if it lights on fire. Okay, reactivity with other chemicals. If I want to know if it's reactive, I actually have to mix them together and see what happens. Toxicity, is something toxic or not. If I want to know, I have to test it. The ability to rust. If I want to know if a metal could rust, I have to actually try to get it to rust. And the ability to tarnish. Tarnish is something that happens to other metals. They kind of turn like greenish. Okay, and again, if I want to know if something's going to tarnish, I have to expose it to the correct properties so that it will tarnish. Okay, so I'm hoping that that kind of cleared up some of the misconceptions for you. If you go back and look at that slideshow and video that is on the agenda, that actually will clear it up as well. And hopefully, yeah, make more sense to you. Please let me know if you have questions.